Hello, it is Madam Mac. I hope you are all well. I am here today to take you through one of the most common and frustrating problems of waxworking. I have an old class ring with me today just to demonstrate a technique to you. Occasionally what will happen is you'll be carving a nice beautiful ring, and at the very end, for whatever reason, everything just derails and you get a nice solid break in your wax shank. I get a lot of messages on Instagram asking me if it can be repaired or not, and rest assured, in most of the cases, you can actually fix this without having to recarve your ring all over again. So I'm going to take you through what I usually do to fix this. Stick around because this is absolutely vital to know when you are wax working. I am here to save the day for you. So what I have, which you may have seen in yesterday's video, is a soldering unit. I will just show you the front of it, just so you can have a rough idea of what it looks like. Okay, so this is my soldering unit. I've got it set at 300 degrees Celsius. Actually, it's about 350 degrees Celsius. And I like using this particular temperature with the ferrous blue wax because it gives me a nice clean weld. So what I like to do is I gently like to press both sides of the shank together, and you'll need to ensure that they are lined up correctly. You don't want to weld your ring together and have it misaligned. So firmly press the two sides of your shank together, and what you're going to do is, without adding any extra wax, you're going to actually run the very tip of that soldering unit into that wax. And I'm going a little bit more than halfway for this. It's really important when you're wax working to be working at a high enough and hot enough temperature, because when you're joining two surfaces, you don't want a cold connection between the two, because if it's too cold, you will end up having your ring crack open potentially again. So once that has cooled down, I flip the ring to access the inside of it. Just disregard all of those little dots. And all you want to do is you want to run the soldering unit down that seam as well. Now this does create little divots on the inside and the outside of the shank, as you can probably see here, but that's not a problem at all, because once I've run the tip down the sides of the shank, I'll be able to show you what wax I use to fill those areas in before sending my ring for casting. So I'll just let that cool down for a moment, and what I will be doing is I'm just going to reduce the temperature of my soldering unit here in the background, because I will be using a different wax to fill in these areas. I will just show you the wax that I will be using, which I like to use for various reasons, which I'll discuss in a minute. So these are the Freeman Jeweller's wax wires. You can use any old shape or any old thickness, because we're just going to be using a tiny bit of the wax to do some touching up. So I've just taken out one of the thicker rods here. Now this is a very soft, low melting temperature wax. And the reason why I like using it to fill in all of these little divots and areas is because it's nice and fluid. And when you contact the end of the soldering tip to your carving wax, this particular low melting temperature wax disperses very nicely into those seams to create a really neat weld and patch up area there. So my soldering unit has cooled down to the appropriate temperature. If your soldering unit is too high, this blue wax will actually evaporate before you even get a chance to apply it to your shank. So all I'm doing is I'm just going to take a nice generous amount and melt that using the end of the soldering tip. So you can see here, it's just a decent little blob, not too much and not too little. And what I'm doing is I'm going to start by just dispersing that over that seam at the top of the ring. So that's the top done. And now I repeat that on the inside of the shank. Okay. So I'm at around 150 degrees Celsius right now. I think anything hotter wouldn't work too well. And I'm just going to repeat that, but on the inside of the shank. And you can see I'm working my way across the seam rather than down it. And the beauty of this wax, this low melting temperature wax, is that it's really fluid and you can push it around really, really nicely. So I've just popped my soldering unit up a little higher. These units, when they get a little bit old, they start to go a little bit funny and unreliable with their temperature. And now I'll be repeating that on the very edges of the shank. So you just want to fill in those divots as best as you can so that when you get that casting back, you can remove that excess metal using your traditional metalsmithing files. Okay, and now for the last part of the seam, I'm just going to repeat that on that edge, and I'm bringing the wax over the edge just to create a nice rounded surface there. And I will just tidy up a tiny bit more on the inside of that seam. And there you have it. Your ring is now repaired. The disadvantage of using any low melting temperature soft wax is that it can't be filed very well. So if I try and remove and tidy this patched up area with filing paper or a carver, it actually will just take the entire amount of wax off. And that's not what you want because you'll have to repeat this whole process. But if you're working in a relatively inexpensive metal, it doesn't do you any harm if you leave it exactly as is and have it cast as is, and then tidy it up with some diamond needle files or a flat file on the outside and a half round file on the inside to smooth that area out. I hope I have saved the day for one or many of you. Please reach out if you have any questions. Subscribe and like this video, leave a comment, ask away, and I will be back with some more. In the next series of videos, I'll be showing you how to size a wax up and how to size a wax down before casting. Thanks so much for the love, and we will chat soon. Bye.